everybody. So we are so excited today. We have the first in our two-part recap of the what we're calling the winter movies of 2018 2019. It's basically November, December, and January. We have decided for this entry to split it up into two parts because we had so many that we had seen that especially David has seen that we're going to be talking about the blockbusters in this video, the big releases with over 2,000 theaters, and then the next podcast, we're going to be talking about the smaller indie films that we've been able to see. So a lot of fun, and I'm Rachel and David is here.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Rachel.
Yeah, so much fun. You completely blew me out of the water as far as movie watching, but there's a caveat.
Yeah, you were pretty distracted with your Hallmark movies. So.
Yes, because I saw 85 Christmas movies, and I, at the end of this one, I'm going to give you a couple of the best of the best, so you don't have to watch 85. You can find out which ones were the best as far as Christmas movie season. Because yes, I saw 85 new Christmas releases in 2018. so that was a lot of fun. But I did the best I could.
Yeah, I mean, you did really well, all things considered.
Yes. And but it was a pretty interesting, I think, season for a couple months for blockbusters. We had some pretty big name releases and some pretty good movies, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it wasn't as big as far as box office. It wasn't as big as 2017 around this time, but there were definitely some noteworthy movies, I think. So I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's dive in. So we're starting the first weekend of November, and this feels like so long ago, but Bohemian Rhapsody came out then. It feels like that came out in the summer to me for some reason. It's really funny.
It does feel like it's been a very long time since that came out.
What did you think? What were your thoughts about Bohemian Rhapsody?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of Queen. I just got into their music probably about 9 or 10 years ago. And I think they're one of the most groundbreaking bands of all time. And I felt like they deserved a biopic that was just as groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And that's not what this movie is.
No.
It's as straightforward as they come as far as a biopic goes about a musician. And it was fine. Like, under normal circumstances, I would have been like, okay, I like this. But it just didn't live up to where it should have been. It didn't live up to Freddie Mercury's uniqueness. And so based on that, I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. I was very disappointed as well. I thought the script was very lame. I've said, obviously I love TV movies. I'm a big fan. And if this had been on VH1, I would have been like, wow, they did a pretty good job. Way to go. But the concert scenes were impressive, but the script was just so cheesy. Like, I mean, you have that scene when they're in the in the producer's office, and he's all like, oh, Queen's never gonna make it as a band, and I'll and they're like, oh, well, you're wrong. I bet it will. We're gonna change the world. And I mean, it was just so corny, and I was kind of uncomfortable when I was watching it because I'm just like, oh, this is just not great. And I don't know. To me, that was the big problem, was the script. Like, because the performances are fine. The editing's kind of a mess, even though it was nominated for best editing. But the concert scenes are impressive. But I mean, I know a lot of people really responded to this movie. One of my friends saw it 11 times.
And the reason that people are responding so well to it is because of the music. I mean,
for sure.
If it wasn't for the music, nobody would care about this. And also, one thing that I didn't like is how they made Rami Malek look. I mean, his teeth were so distracting. Freddie Mercury had big teeth, but it just felt like he had this thing in his mouth that was a distraction the
Yeah.
entire movie, and
Yeah.
it drove me crazy. And I've been so frustrated seeing it be nominated for so many
Yeah.
things and win things too. Like, it doesn't
Right.
make sense.
Yeah, I mean, like just the kind of writing that we're talking about here is you have before in one day he makes up with his boyfriend guy, whatever, who we've hardly seen at all and get to know, and you have like the scary gay guy who's like whatever. That was weird. The way they portrayed that whole relationship
Yeah.
was very strange. But then then he makes up with this guy, and then he reunites with his family and plays Live Aid all in the same day. Like, what is going on? Like, that's a busy morning
Yeah.
for him. And also, I mean, just the fact that like he didn't even have AIDS, hadn't been diagnosed. And I
Right.
don't care if something is I don't care if something is historically accurate, except for in a bad movie. Then I'm like,
Mhm.
then it annoys me because I'm not being entertained. And so then I loved The Greatest Showman, and that has a lot of inaccuracies because I was entertained. I didn't care, if that makes sense. And I don't know, it wasn't great.
Make it sound like I hated this movie. I did enjoy it just based on my expectations and based on what I thought it should be. It didn't live up to it, but I still did appreciate things about it. I mean, I love the music. I love seeing these songs created, even if it wasn't completely accurate. And I really did like that recreation of the Live Aid
Yeah.
performance. It went on for a good 20 minutes at the end,
Yeah.
and it worked for me.
The concert is definitely the highlight.
Mhm.
The concert scenes are definitely the highlight of the movie for sure.
Right.
Like I said, if I just seen it on TV, I would have been like, oh, that was pretty impressive, but
Yeah.
I was expecting better.
Right. So I've seen 226 movies from 2018,
Uh-huh.
and I rank this 96, so it's still in my top 100, just barely. But yeah,
So let me find
it
it.
is the lowest ranked Best Picture nominee for me. I think it's definitely the worst of the Best Picture nominees.
Yeah, for sure. I have it. Well, actually, not for sure. I have it. I have 157 2018 releases, and I have it at number 135.
Oh, okay, so you did dislike it even more than me. So
Yes, I know. It's just so yes, and there's one that I really disliked that we'll talk about.
okay.
From 2018, the Best Picture nominees. All right, Nobody's Fool. What is Nobody? Is that the Tyler Perry movie?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It has Tiffany Haddish in it, and I can't remember the lead actress's name, but she is having a online relationship with somebody, and her friends think that she may be being catfished. So it's basically about them trying to figure out what's going on with this guy she's dating online. It was actually pretty funny in parts. Tiffany Haddish hasn't had a great 2018 for me, but yeah, I did laugh quite a bit at this, especially near the beginning. It kind of goes off the rails, and you don't really know where they're taking this film. Like the plot, how I described it, is not the plot throughout the film. So it's kind of bizarre and inconsistent, but it was fairly enjoyable. At least if you're just looking for some cheap laughs, yeah, it gives you that. So I rank this 131 for the year.
Okay, good. All right, so then we have The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. I was cautiously optimistic about this because, I was just excited that Disney was doing something that seemed kind of original. Obviously, it's The Nutcracker's been done, but it looked pretty like it could be, as opposed to just remaking their animated films. And we've never really had a good Nutcracker movie, so I was hopeful,
Mm-hmm.
but it was not good. this movie was so boring.
It was.
It had no conflict. There was just nothing. It I like they try at the very end to kind of throw in a villain reveal, but I don't know. There's even whole sections where she's just watching people dance, and I'm just like, well, the dancing's nice, but I can just watch a dance. Like, it was really bad. I don't know. It was disappointing. I was hoping that it would be like a pleasant surprise, but yeah, it was not good. What did you think of?
Well, so yeah, I agree with you. I was pretty disappointed by it. I thought, based on the trailers, it looked very compelling visually, which it still did. That did hold up during my viewing of it. However, it literally put me to sleep watching this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't feel like it had a driving plot. And yeah, I was bored. And also, I think the lead actress, I can't remember her name, this young girl, she was in The Conjuring. Like, she's a very pretty girl. I don't think she has charisma. Um, I can't see her being a great actress. So yeah, it was pretty disappointed. I ranked this at 163 for the year.
Yeah. So I have it at 141. So
Okay.
pretty low. Yeah, it's a bummer. I was hoping that it would be better, but oh well, what are you going to do? So then we had Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. This is our entry from Illumination the last year, and in my opinion, this is just par for the course for Illumination. It was very bland. It took no risks, and it was not horrible. I didn't want to die, but it was very bland and just very forgettable. And I kind of was annoyed at how they it's not as bad as the Lorax when they adapted that. I thought they completely bastardized the message of the original Lorax, which very much irritated me. This, it doesn't, it makes some changes, but it's not as bad as that. But I don't know, I just felt like the message, instead of being more interesting in that the message of the original short and the book is that the Who's down in Whoville, the tall and the small, they sang without any presence at all. That Christmas doesn't come from a store. Christmas means a lot more. And in this, the main message seemed to be, to me, was that the Grinch was lonely and now he's not lonely anymore. And loneliness is bad and now he's not lonely. And I felt like the whole core of sort of the message wasn't as good. It had been kind of bland. It made more bland. And I don't know, but it was just bland for me. I thought the animation was bland, the humor was bland. It was just bland.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. This is going to be a theme, but this is another movie that I dozed off during.
Yeah.
I had to, once it was available to watch streaming, I had to catch up with what I had missed, kind of in the middle there. But yeah, bland is a great way to describe it. It didn't give me any sort of strong feelings anyway. I didn't think the humor was great. I thought it was weird how the Grinch just mingled with the Who's as if he didn't have this immense hatred for them.
Yeah.
They would be like, "Hey, Grinch," as he walked by. It felt like they took the story and really watered it down. It was disappointing.
Yeah.
But I still rank this at 137. So it's not in my top half of the year, but it's not something I hated.
I have it at 103. I didn't hate it either. I didn't hate it like I hated the Lorax. It was fine, but I just wish that Illumination just once would take a tiny bit of risk, try something artistic. Like Sony has done something artistic. Like some studios like Blue Sky, yeah, they may make the Ice Age movies, which are bland, but they've tried with movies like Epic and the Peanuts movie and stuff to do something, creative. And I just wish Illuminations just once would but who am I to argue when they make billions of dollars off of their bland movies? So they obviously know what they're doing. But I don't know, just a little frustrating. So there you go. It's at 103 for me.
Okay.
So all right. Next is Overlord. So you got to see Overlord.
I did see Overlord. This was a movie I thought looked pretty good based on the trailer, and then the reviews started coming out, and they were higher than I even expected. So that made me pretty optimistic about this, and it really did not disappoint at all. I don't think it's a movie for everybody. I think it's definitely too violent for you, for example. But yeah, it was an interesting take on like a World War II movie. You basically see these soldiers that kind of crash land into France, and they're trying to disable this German communications tower, and really like just the conflict between the Nazis and these soldiers is such a strong element throughout the film, and it takes probably 2/3 into the movie before it really goes into that kind of sci-fi zombie-ish element, and it worked really well for me. Yeah, I was highly entertained throughout, and it's something that, like, as time goes by, I keep thinking about this, and I'm excited to rewatch it. So yeah, I rank this 22 for the year.
Oh wow, really high. Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, if you like this kind of movie, if you don't mind kind of graphic horror, I think it's definitely a movie that anybody should watch.
Cool. Good. We had The Girl in the Spider's Web. This is sort of trying to do a reboot of the series. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. It's I don't know. I think it takes place after the events in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is not a movie that I particularly love. And I kind of felt the same way about this. Like, I wasn't compelled by the characters. I didn't find I can't remember her name. The lead actress,
Claire Foy.
Claire Foy. I didn't find her particularly likable.
And didn't they make it more of sort of an action movie than the original?
Yeah, I think so. It was almost like a female Mission Impossible, but not good. But yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. It didn't leave a strong impression. I've forgotten most of it. So yeah, I put this at 176.
Okay. All right. So then we have Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. So this, I wasn't super high on the original Fantastic Beasts movie. It was disappointing, but not as disappointing as this. This movie I really disliked. I felt it was the most sort of stressful experience I've had at the theater since Warcraft, as far as just being bombarded by plots and images and just feeling like completely overwhelmed by everything that I was seeing. And it started to kind of like I took a bathroom break, which I try to never do because I just needed a break from all of this. It was exhausting. It was an exhausting experience. I didn't think it was interesting. The more I thought about it, the more everything didn't make sense. It didn't work together. Especially the sort of big reveal at the end. I just thought was stupid. I think that they took the things that I liked about the original movie, as far as Queenie and Jacob and some other things, and they didn't spend enough time with them, and what they did was really odd and weird, and I don't understand the choices they made, and I thought the script was really poorly done by J.K. Rowling, and I didn't even think it looked that nice, because it was just all really kind of gray and weird, and I just really disliked it a lot. I don't understand why we're all of a sudden having Muggle wars in as part of an element of the wizarding world. Like it opens up like a Pandora's box of questions of like, why weren't the wizards helping if like you have these images of tanks and concentration camps and stuff like that? Like, what are they doing? And I just really thought it was joyless, and I really disliked it a lot. So it was one of my least favorite movies of the whole year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I certainly don't quite agree with you. I do think that it had some issues. The plot wasn't as strong as I would have expected, especially with it being called The Crimes of Grindelwald. I mean, the crimes of Grindelwald are far and few between.
Yeah. I mean, you
Few
hardly
and
even
far
get to
between.
see
Sorry.
him. And then there were so many plot threads in this movie. There were so many characters you were supposed to keep track of.
Hmm. And some of them were not necessary. Like they introduce characters, they make you feel like they're going to be important, and they're gone by the end of the film. And it's like, okay, did we really need that character? Um, Plus, I agree. I did not like what they did with Queenie and Jacob. Like those were the two highlights from the first film, and they kind of faded with this one. But I do think that I liked what they did visually. It felt more like a Harry Potter film, especially like the around 4 or 5, 6 that area visually.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what they did with the creatures in this one. It's starting to feel like it's deserving that Fantastic Beast name more. I really like the opening, which is basically a prison escape for Grindelwald. Um, I enjoyed it enough, but it just didn't leave a super memorable impression on me. I ranked it fairly high based on my first impression. I'd probably lower it since I just don't remember it that well, but I have it at 72 for the year.
I'm at 153. I really
Okay.
disliked it. I I just thought it was a miserable experience watching it. It was not for me. Yeah, I'm not a fantasy person, and when fantasy goes wrong, it's really goes wrong for me. So that was the case here. So to something more pleasant is Instant Family, which was such a great surprise in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this movie was so touching, so sweet. The sort of I loved how honest. I felt like it was very honest about the struggles of foster care and adoption without being I don't know. I just without it being I didn't think it was depressing, but it wasn't like too schmaltzy. I thought they got the tone just right. It felt I liked sort of the group spirit of it all, as far as all the different couples and Octavia Spencer and that other leader. They were great. And I don't know, I was bawling at the end, especially in the credits when you see
Right.
all the different foster care and adoption uh, people in that had worked on the film, how close it was to them, and just the whole scene when they finally get adopted in the courtroom. I just thought it was really earned, and I loved it so much. I thought it was a great movie, and I have it number 13 on my
Oh,
list. I
wow.
loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I thought it had a lot of heart. It was
Yeah.
actually funny.
Yeah.
And I liked how personal it was for the director. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same director who did the Daddy's Home movies, which I don't love, but
Mhm.
I think the fact that this was basically based on his adoption story of adopting these 3 children, that it felt really personal, and yeah, it just worked for me, much more than I expected. I don't like that it got some backlash from people. I think people just really misread the intention, and it's just so easy for people to to find criticism in this
Yeah.
whole like
I haven't
white
heard.
savior thing. And I get the white savior thing, but
Oh,
that was not the intention of this film. And
no.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
put it at 50 for the year.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm like I said, I cried a lot. It really moved me. It really worked for me. So So next we have Widows, which I was really excited for this movie because, Steve McQueen, great director. It has an incredible cast, but I ended up being really underwhelmed by it. I wasn't a big fan. I thought it wasn't interesting enough as a character piece, and I didn't think it was well done enough to be sort of a fun, exciting heist movie. It had some cool shots, like the long take when they go from the poor section of town to the projects, and then they take the long
right.
on the car to the governor's house. That was cool. There were some cool things like that, but I thought the lighting was actually really strange. I thought there was a lot of attempts in this movie. Personally, I felt like to make the women feel more masculine, that you have these beautiful women, and I just thought it was they were made to look kind of ugly, for lack of a better word, and that I felt there was a definite attempt to kind of defeminize them, which I think wasn't my favorite choice. I mean, it's well acted and stuff, but I just thought it was kind of dull and just not it didn't succeed in either way to me of being either an interesting. I thought the twist was lame. It wasn't an interesting character piece, and it wasn't an entertaining heist movie. It was just kind of, I don't know. I was disappointed. I didn't really like it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I see where you're coming from. Personally, I did enjoy it, and I was entertained by it, and that's mostly what matters for me. I thought all of the lead actresses, they were enjoyable to varying degrees, but I liked them all. And yeah, I thought it was actually fun at parts. I mean, it was a bit serious, but yeah, it's something that I definitely would look forward to watching again personally. But I could see how other people wouldn't enjoy it as much. So I put this at 25.
Ooh, wow, pretty high. I have it 107.
Oh wow, okay.
I thought I didn't think it was great. So there you go. All right, then next we have Creed 2. So I really enjoyed this. I think it's maybe a little underrated for the year. I mean, it has a pretty good Rotten Tomatoes score, but I don't know. I just really thought that they did a good job of, I thought, making both Adonis and the Dragos, both of their journeys were easy to kind of connect with, and I would have been fine with either of them winning, and that's, I think, a pretty successful boxing movie if you're able to do that. I thought they had compelling motivations for both sides. I thought the acting was all pretty strong. I liked the relationship between Adonis and I can't think of the girl's name, but I thought they did a good job. And the whole thing of his son being or daughter being deaf, I thought that was good. And overall, I thought it was a really good movie. And yeah, I have it at 29.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I liked it. I had not seen the original Creed until a couple days before I went to see this. And maybe it's because I saw Creed 2 on the big screen and I couldn't have any distractions, but I actually liked it better than the first one. I also, of the Rocky films, I'm not a huge Rocky fan, but Rocky 4 with Drago, that's one of my favorite ones. Or Drago, sorry.
I like Rocky 4 except for the robot. The robot is so bad.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I thought they had some good character motivations. I thought they had interesting kind of side stories, especially with the pregnancy. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I put it at 82 for the year.
Very good. Okay. All right. So then we have Green Book. So this is our road trip movie with Hershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. And Viggo Mortensen is the Italian guy from that is taking the Viggo Mortensen character all around the South so that he can play there, and I really liked this movie. I thought that, I know that it has its flaws, but I thought it was a touching story of an unlikely friendship. I liked both the performances. I thought it was funny. I liked him writing all of those love letters to his wife, and Marcelli's character helping. I thought that whole thing was very sweet. I liked the fact that it was a Christmas movie, that it ended on Christmas. Of course, I'm going to like that. Overall, it made me want to be a better friend and a better person, and made me feel good, and I really enjoyed it. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. This was another pleasant surprise for me. It was actually funny, much funnier than I expected,
mm-hmm,
and more heartfelt than I
mm-hmm.
expected as well. Yeah, and I actually got to watch this with a Survivor contestant, which was fun.
Ooh,
Yeah,
very exciting.
yeah. I was in St. Louis, and I'm friends with Tasha Fox. She was on
Uh-huh.
Survivor, so I was like, "Hey,
She
we should
like
go
it?
watch this movie." Yeah, we both loved it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been very happy to see how well received this has been,
Yeah.
and how it's getting lots of nominations.
Yeah.
Um, and I think Mahershala Ali is probably going to win an Oscar for this. I wouldn't be surprised, at least.
It
Um,
it it could be. It could be. I wouldn't be surprised if Richard E. Grant wins, because he's just been
yeah,
so present on social, just so joyous about. I feel like I don't know, it just seems like all the momentum's heading his way, but anyway, I could certainly see Mahershala, and I get it, the people, because there some of the Doc Shirley's estate has had major quibbles with
right.
the characterization, and I you know that and I understand some of the other complaints that some people have with it, but I guess here's my kind of thing of what I feel about this is I feel like some people kind of want it to be something that it's not. This is just
Hmm.
a little story about two people and a friendship. It's not a protest movie. It's not trying to speak for all Black people or all white
Right.
people. It's not trying to, change things that we got tons of movies like that last year. We got The Hate You Give. There's a protest movie. We got we got Sorry to Bother You. This is a
Hmm.
protest movie. We got a number of films, Black Klansman, and those are great, and that's great. But I don't think every movie that has some theme of race relations or learning tolerance needs to necessarily be a protest movie and need to speak for everyone. It can just be about two people and their friendship, and that can be valuable as well. So,
I agree.
it's easy for me to say that. I'm not African American. I don't, like, I get it,
True.
and I respect people that have all different views. But for me, I found it inspiring. I found it enjoyable. I liked it. So yeah, I have it at 20.
Okay, I have it at 33.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I really like at the end how it showed how they remained friends up until they both passed away,
Yeah.
like within the same year, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I thought that was really cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, I recommend this one.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So then we have Ralph Breaks the Internet. And this one I went into kind of nervous because I don't love the original as much as most Disney fans do.
Hmm.
It's fine. I just don't love it like other people seem to. But I actually liked this better than the original. I know it might be shocking, but I thought the whole sort of message of Ralph, he likes things to stay the same. He doesn't want things to grow. He doesn't want things to change. And whereas Vanellope is getting bored with her life, and I think that's really hard to sort of allow friendships to grow and evolve and change. And so for Ralph to have to accept this new kind of version of Vanellope, I thought was actually a really nuanced and subtle and moving story, and that you have how sort of friendships can become kind of toxic if they're not willing to evolve, they're not willing to grow. And I think when she finally gets to Slaughter Race and she finds that this is it, this is where I belong, and for him to learn to accept that, and the ending I thought was actually really moving and sweet, and I thought the movie was genuinely really funny. And it wasn't just like a whole bunch of sort of parody kind of jokes. I thought that almost every single joke had something to do with their journey and moving along. There weren't a ton of just sort of throwaway jokes, in my opinion. There were a few, but for the most part, something like the Spammy actually was like a character and mattered to the plot, and the princesses mattered to the plot, and they actually end up like saving them, at a certain point. And I thought that the slaughterhouse song, when it was a big surprise, that I was not expecting an Alan Menken song, or a place called Slaughter. I was not expecting an Alan Menken song in the middle of this movie. That was a really fun, like, oh, whoa, that's a fun surprise. And I thought the animation was really dazzling. I really enjoyed it. And so I really liked this movie. I thought it was really good. And I all the voice acting was great. I have it at number 10.
Okay. Yeah, I really like this as well. I did not like it as much as Wreck-It Ralph, but I am one of those people that really loves Wreck-It Ralph. But yeah, I thought this was very funny. It was a good follow-up. I like the music. I liked where they took the villain, if you want to call it that, at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty creative. But yeah, I did not quite enjoy it as much as Wreck-It Ralph. I'm trying, like my instincts are saying compare it to Wreck-It Ralph and explain why it's not as good, but that would be doing a disservice to this because it's still a very enjoyable film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to see Disney at some point go back to more of a traditional love story. We haven't seen that since probably Tangled.
Yeah, and then that's fair. I agree. I agree with you. I mean, you got I guess a little bit between Anna and Kristoff, but yeah, I would like them to go back to a traditional fairy tale with a true villain like Mother Gothel.
Right.
We really haven't seen anything like that for so long, and I'm just hoping that Frozen 2, that's what they do. That this is sort of, they did their sort of groundbreaking, challenging, things. Let's go back now. It almost seems like it'd be more groundbreaking to do something really traditional at this point, and to give us a real fairy tale. So I'm hopeful that they'll do that. And I agree with you there. And what do you think of the princess scene? Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was pretty fun. I really liked how we got to see how each of them use their powers, even though technically some of these do not have powers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I put this movie at 21 for the year.
Pretty high for that. So yeah, I did not like the princess scene at D23 when they showed it to us back in 2017. But in context, I thought, because it felt very Shrekian to me, and I'm not a big fan of that kind of humor. And so I was nervous about it, but within, again, I felt like it all sort of actually mattered to the story and showed character growth and was funny. And and of course, the fact that Ariel was kind of the leader, I felt like she was got most of the good lines. I was like, yeah, woo, because I love Ariel. It was great. But anyway, so yeah, it ended up being way funnier than I thought. And I loved the casual princesses. That was great.
Right.
It was so good. So that was very fun. All right, then.
So wait, where did you rank that? Sorry, I missed
I did number 10.
Okay, cool.
My top 10.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Then we had Robin Hood that same weekend, and I was hoping this would be kind of silly, fun, and ridiculous. But it was just lame. As soon as I saw that there was like a whole sort of, I felt like it was almost like an American Sniper set in sequence set in medieval times, whatever. Like, and
Mhm.
the opening sort of action scene was so ridiculous. And I don't know, they were all taking it too seriously for it to be sort of dopey fun, like something like, I don't know, I guess you can have something like Venom or whatever. But this was just really, really stupid. And I thought that Jamie Foxx was so bad in his role. And the romance was not there at all. it
Right.
it was just, it was really bad. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. It was wasted potential. Um, and I kind of wish it would have been worse, honestly, because it wasn't good and it wasn't like horrible for me. It was just kind of like, why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it
So I
wasn't
did,
campy
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I didn't hate it as much as I expected based on the reviews,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, well, it's something I would never ever watch again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I put this at 192.
I have it at 152 out of
Okay.
150. So this is my bottom 10. I thought it
Oh
was
wow,
really
yeah.
lame. Yeah. So then the Possession of Hannah Grace you saw.
Speaking of bottom 10, yeah. So this is uh, another like demon possession movie. I've seen so many of them, but this is a girl dies, but she still has a demon in her, so it's basically making her body like reanimate in the morgue. But it's so stupid and not entertaining, and it has like that frustrating trope of that happens in horror movies where something is like lurking or whatever until somebody sees it or looks where it could be, then it's nowhere to be seen. And you
Yeah.
kind of have that like cat and mouse thing going for almost the entire film. And it's like, when is this going to actually go somewhere? You could tell which characters were expendable. It just there was nothing redeeming about this. So I put this at 219 out of 226.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. There's sometimes not watching very many horror movies is to my benefit.
Yeah.
That sounds like what but you watched Mortal Engines. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It looked so boring. I don't know. I just couldn't.
Yeah, it was pretty boring. This was another one that I had to struggle to stay awake during. It really wasn't quite as bad as I expected.
Uh-huh.
I thought, like, visually, it was very strong. It had a really good opening, I thought, that was pretty fun. It was this small little town, I guess. All the towns are, like, on wheels, but it's a small one trying to get away from London. And that was pretty exciting, I thought. But it kind of went downhill from there. I couldn't find, I couldn't care about the characters, especially the lead girl. It's funny, I heard on a different podcast recently how like a writer had written a piece about how a lot of movies take the fun out of being a girl. Like they're not fun on the screen. They're too serious a lot of the times,
Hmm.
and that's the epitome of what this film did with its lead character. She, I don't know that she smiled at all during the film. She was just very one note and jaded and
I
had,
mean, that's definitely true with Crimes of Grindelwald. I mean, any fun that was in Queenie, for instance, taken
sure,
out. So that's interesting. I'd be interested to listen to that.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, that was one of my bigger issues was that this lead female, she was just not likable for me because I mean she's had a rough life, but still, just they could have found some way to make her more endearing. The lead guy, he was very endearing, I thought.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, overall, I thought it was okay. Um, I would have expected better if you before like reviews and even the trailer came out. But I put this at 155 for the year.
Okay, good. All right. Then we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I was very excited for this movie, and I was not disappointed. I thought it was incredible. I was dazzled by this movie. I thought the animation was incredible. The way that it moved and flowed, the way it used color was just really a game changer. I think we're gonna see some really cool things coming out that are inspired kind of by this movie. There's already talk of a Batman Beyond coming out. The way that they kind of combined a CG with a comic book aesthetic, there's something. It was really cool, and I thought the story was really sweet. I thought it had some moments of heart. I thought Miles was a character that I could easily relate to. I thought the scene where his dad is talking to him outside his room was really good. And his dealing with his uncle, that whole thing worked for me. I thought it was so brilliant having the different Spider-Man from the different dimensions and how each one had its own animation style, and yet they're all meshed together. And I thought it was really funny, and I just loved it. I thought it was brilliant, and I have it at number 2. It's my second favorite
Oh,
movie.
wow. Okay.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, interesting fact for the listeners. I don't believe Rachel and I have any shared movies in our top tens. So that's pretty interesting how that worked out.
Yeah.
I, yeah, I did like this. I thought the animation was definitely unique. It took me a little while to get used to it, though. It almost felt like I was watching a 3D movie, not in 3D. Just kind of, it was kind of fuzzy at points, and I didn't like that at first, but eventually I got used to it. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting story. The characters were good. I didn't love it as much as everybody else. Like I enjoyed it enough, but
Mhm.
it didn't wow me like it seemed to have wowed most people I talk to. But yeah, I'd watch it again. Maybe it would leave a stronger impression on me the second time, but I still ranked it at 68, which isn't bad.
Mhm. Very good. Okay. Yeah, I also love the music. I thought it was brilliant, and it's been really cool to see all the different animators involved. Talking about different parts they worked on, and it's just I don't know. There's just a lot of energy behind the project that was really contagious
Hmm.
for me. So it's really cool, and I'm excited for Sony Animation. That they had a really rough 2017, and this is quite a rebound for them, which
Hmm.
is exciting. So, all right, then we have The Mule. This is our Clint Eastwood film about him being a drug mule. And I felt like watching this movie that he called in a lot of favors because I felt like the cast was way better than the script deserved. I think that Bradley Cooper is pretty good in it. Lawrence Fishburne, Michael Pena, Diane Weist is really good as his wife. So that helped it, but I don't know. I just didn't think the script was that great, and I thought his character wasn't. I was hoping it would be like Gran Torino because I love Gran Torino, and I think that movie's so sweet and funny. But I don't know. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was great. It has positive aspects, but yeah, it was just a little disappointing.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I was entertained by it. I thought it was interesting. It almost seemed like it was kind of a slap to the face to like a PC culture with a lot of the
Mhm.
things that he would say or do, and
Yeah.
it was just surprising to see. Oh, okay, you're gonna say that on this film in 2018, um, which it didn't bother me really, but
It fit the character. I mean,
it did, yeah. But uh, yeah, I mean, I was entertained by it. It it's it seems to be a polarizing movie for people, but it did not polarize me either way. I thought it was decent, and I mean, I remember it well, so that's a good sign. But yeah, I put it at 119.
Yeah, I'm at 105, so not
Okay.
too far off. All right, Mary Poppins Returns. So Mary Poppins Returns, I haven't been a big fan of these Disney remakes, and this is a sequel, but that whole sort of, it feels like it's in that style, of these. And so I went into this with skepticism because I love the original Mary Poppins. And I left being completely delighted. I absolutely just loved it. I love all of the choreography and the musical numbers. And I thought that Emily Blunt was fantastic. And I thought that the core sort of message of the movie was actually different than the original movie, which is all about Mr. Banks, like thinking he has his life all figured out, but he actually is completely ignoring the most important part, which is his children. That's the message of the first one. The second one, he knows he doesn't have his life figured out. He's a mess. And, he's lost his wife. He's devastated. He's going to lose his house. He loves his children. There's no doubt about that. It's not the same situation, but he's just in despair. And so Mary Poppins comes to support him, and I thought the main message of the movie was that in rough times, your family and your friends will be there for you and will support you. And I just thought it was lovely. I liked all the performances. I thought that even Colin Firth was having a lot of fun as this villain character. I thought the scenes like in the bowl, where there's everything kind of looked like it was painted ceramics, I thought was really clever and really engaging. And I don't know, I just thought it was delightful and magical, and it was like the most sort of Disney, old school Disney magic that I haven't felt for so long from one of their live action movies. And it made me feel like I was watching a movie with Walt back in the day. It just had that old school feel to me. I absolutely loved it, and it's my favorite movie of the year.
Okay. And
I
you've
just
seen it how many times?
I've seen it 3 times,
Okay.
and I loved it. I know other people didn't like it, but I loved it. So
Well, I haven't talked to anybody who didn't like it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this as well. And I'm looking forward to watching it again eventually. It felt like a breath of fresh air. It definitely had that old school feel. I like that they kept the tone, the art direction of the original.
yeah,
I didn't think the songs were as good as the original. Like they didn't stick with me. Maybe they would after I watched it a few more times. But yeah, I mean, it had some really great scenes. I loved Emily Blunt. I really like the book is not the cover
yeah, so
part.
fun.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, as far as the songs, I mean, it's so hard because those original songs we've been hearing ever since we were children,
sure.
and are so iconic. And I guess I didn't expect the songs to be that. I wasn't holding them up to that standard.
Hmm.
There was no way that's impossible.
Right.
But I thought they were charming songs. I enjoyed them. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree. Um, yeah, so I put this at 14 for the year.
Oh, very high.
So yeah, it's about the closest we've got to having a shared top 10.
Yeah,
Um,
very good. Very good. Where do you have Lean on Pete?
I would have to look that up. I have
I
it
was just
pretty
curious.
pretty high. It's I think it's like around 30s or
Oh,
20s.
okay.
Oh, it's
I have it
29.
okay. I have it at number 5. I knew you really liked
Mhm.
this. That's why I was like,
I do,
okay.
yes.
Okay. So then we had Aquaman on the 21st.
Mhm.
And I have an unpopular opinion about this movie. I thought this movie was really boring. I was not invested at all. I thought that some of it looked nice and that was fine. And I thought that some of the banter between Mara and Aquaman was fun. I enjoyed that. But all of the Atlantean political dialogue between all the fish kings when they were debating about who gets to rule, and that was so boring to me. I did not care at all whether it was Dolph Lundgren or William Dafoe or Patrick Wilson, and they're just talking and talking and talking. I did not care. I thought it was very exposition heavy, and I thought Black Manta was a terrible character, and like it just suffered because it had almost the exact same plot of Black Panther, but Black Panther was, I thought, way better and way tighter and more interesting and just executed and better. And I mean, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. I thought it was a very boring movie, and so I didn't really like it.
Well, I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I mean, this definitely seems to be a polarizing film, but I do disagree with you. Um, it's actually pretty comparable to Black Panther for me. I have them ranked only 2 spaces apart from each other, which I know a lot of people would disagree with. One of the strengths that I think Aquaman has over Black Panther is its lead character. I think Aquaman is much more charming and memorable than Black Panther. I think Black Panther, the film, its strong suits come from its side characters. Also, I think that Aquaman may be the most ambitious world building I've seen in a superhero movie ever. I really liked what they did with everything underwater. Visually, I thought it looked great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was highly entertained throughout the film. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I wouldn't say it's objectively great by any means, but it kept my attention, and I was ready to watch it again fairly shortly after seeing it. I mean, I haven't seen it again yet, but I have to watch too many other things. But
I mean, it made over $1 billion, so clearly a lot of people liked it, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It just didn't do it for me. I had it at 113.
Oh, wow, ouch. Okay, I have it at 34, and Black Panther I do have a little higher at 32. So.
Ah, very good. Yeah, I think Black Panther, because I thought the dynamic between the villain and Black Panther, between T'Challa and Killmonger, was great and was there. That's the part that I thought was very well executed. I have it at 43. I have Black Panther. So
Okay. Who would have guessed that we'd be talking about 2 different Dolph Lundgren movies in this podcast?
You're right. Yeah, that's true. It's a Dolph or kind of. So, all right. Then Bumblebee. So, the Transformers movies have been not great. And, we hoped this new director that it would revitalize and finally get the potential that the franchise had. And I went to see the movie, and I was really charmed by this movie. I thought it was so sweet, and I really liked the relationship between Bumblebee and the Haley Steinfeld character. I thought that it was just, I don't know, it's just, yeah, people say like it's derivative of something like E.T. or whatever, but I was fine with that. I thought it was really well executed for what it was, and I don't know, I just found it really charming, and I liked the way they used the 80s music, which really was good, and I liked Haley Steinfeld in it, and there wasn't anybody that was super annoying. Some of the 2 Decepticons were a little annoying, but not too bad, and it made me really excited for the future for Transformers, which I haven't felt in a long time. And altogether, I thought it was a really sweet, engaging little sci-fi movie, and so I have it at 26. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is the best Transformer movies, and it's not even close.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I really liked Haley Steinfeld. I did like the whole 80s setting. Or was it 80s or 90s? I don't know.
80s, yeah.
It was, okay. Yeah, I thought it all worked. Bumblebee was very likable.
Yeah.
They had some good explanations for everything that we know about that character. Some of it was a bit predictable, but it still kept my attention. And yeah, I thought it was a very sweet movie. I put it at 58.
Very good. All right. Then we have Second Act, which I thought was a fine romantic comedy. I thought that it's not really that romantic. That would be my downside to it. But J-Lo is there doing her thing. She knows how to do it. She's a pro, and I thought she did it. I thought there was some nice moments between her and Vanessa Hudgens' character. And I thought there was enough humor, particularly the Leah Remini character had some decent laughs. I thought in there, the idea of sort of taking on kind of the idea of this woman who has street smarts but isn't valued because she doesn't have the degrees and other things, and then she has to tell this lie. Very classic romantic comedy kind of a thing. It's definitely stretched very thin. It's not a very well made movie, and it's not a great movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was. So I don't know.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a bad movie. It just didn't leave a strong impression on me.
Yeah.
I fell asleep partially through it, but I when I did wake up, I appreciated kind of the different direction it took, especially with the Vanessa Hudgens character, which I didn't see coming. But yeah, it was not bad. I don't remember how it ends, honestly. Like, if I watch it again, I'd be like, oh, how does this get resolved? Because I can't remember. I put this at 171.
Okay, that makes sense. I have it at 68. And okay. I just like rom-coms, and this was fine, I thought. So that's where I have it. So, all right. Then Holmes and Watson, you saw it, huh?
Yes, I did. You didn't see it?
No. I'd already published my worst of the year list.
Oh, okay.
I was like, there's no need to see it. So
yeah, I mean, it's not good at all. The issue is that it's just not funny. Like, their attempts at humor didn't work. It wasn't offensive in any way. It was just kind of there. Like, I almost expected it to be worse based on the reviews, but ultimately I just found myself not caring. Like, they made some of their actors do pretty stupid things. I would have been embarrassed if I were some of these people. I can't believe they even got some of these people to sign up for this. Like Ralph Fiennes, I don't know this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't worth watching at all. I put this at 210.
Mm-hmm. Very good. All right. So then we have Vice. This is nominated for Best Picture. Finally saw it last week, actually, and I did not like it at all. I thought it was basically political propaganda disguised as humor. And it wasn't really funny. And they would just like flash up images to startle the viewer, and then not like do something sort of interesting with that image. And so I thought that was really manipulative to try to get you to agree because you've seen this image, therefore you're going to agree with what the movie's telling you it's saying. And I thought that was really awful filmmaking. And I think that in the big what's the Big Short or whatever, there was a little bit more nuance, and it was more funny, and it was more like trying to be informative, where I thought this was trying to be sort of manipulative. And I don't know, I really disliked it. I thought it was really bad. And yeah, the makeup's impressive, good job, but I don't know, I didn't like it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. I definitely see what you're saying. Like, there are scenes in this film where they're kind of quickly going through Dick Cheney's low lights, and they don't seem relevant to the story at hand, and it almost feels like a character assassination. Without getting political here, I mean, I did vote for Bush the second time. I wasn't old enough the first time. And I do believe there's a lot to at least be concerned, if not dislike, about Dick Cheney. I don't think they presented it in in a good way or a fair way. It
Yeah.
just they went too hard, and I felt like that kind of alienated their intent.
Hmm.
Um, they could have presented it in a more artful way, a
Yeah.
more relevant way.
Yeah, I mean, if I obviously I'm a conservative.
Mhm.
I'm not like a huge fan of Dick Cheney though. I could
Right.
have been totally fine with something was that was hard on him and funny and interesting. So far I know I just feel like Hollywood just doesn't know what to do about the Bush years because I think there's the awkwardness of 9/11. You don't want to offend anybody with that, that lived through it, suffered through it, whatever. And so that's hard. And they disagree with him so much that they have a hard time kind of understanding or portraying the appeal and why people liked him, why people
Mhm.
voted for him. And so I think it's kind of the whole thing that like, if you can't explain, it's the old debate rule that if you can't explain the other side, then you don't understand your side very well. That's how you come to understand your own view the best is by explaining the counter argument
Right. That makes
best,
sense.
right? And I feel like they kind of can't do it. They don't know why and they don't understand it. And so they and so they're not able to kind of craft something that's interesting about it because I thought W was terrible too, and that was not a good movie. And so, I mean, I guess those are the two sort of big attempts. But I don't know. So it was a big miss for me. I have it 144.
Okay. Well, it wasn't a big miss for me. I actually overall did enjoy the film. I just felt like they could have gone about it a better way. But it made me laugh. I thought they had some creative things that they did, artistic choices. I thought Christian Bale did a great job. The supporting cast was very strong as well. So yeah, there was a lot that I enjoyed about it. Um, I just wish they could have taken it from a less biased lens,
Yeah.
which is kind of hard to do, I guess. But I still ranked it pretty high. I have it at 42 for the year.
Very good. Okay. That's fair. All right. Then we had Escape Room. This now we're getting into January. I actually really wanted to see this because I thought it looked kind of fun and it was PG-13, but I just didn't get around. I was just too busy in January, uh, kind of doing so all the other stuff I had to do. I just didn't get around to seeing it.
Mhm.
What did you think about it?
Yeah, I like this quite a bit. I've done a lot of escape rooms. I've done about 55 of them.
Uh-huh.
So it was. I've been looking forward to this as soon as I heard about it. It does do a few things that I don't like in movies. Uh, one of those is it starts out by showing you one of the ending scenes. So that kind of spoils. Uh, I hate when movies spoil themselves with
Attention.
the
Yeah.
with the opening scene. And also they focus on a few characters at the very beginning, like once it goes back to the past. It shows you like about three main characters, and it basically tells you like these are the ones that have plot armor. These are the ones that are going to survive the longest. And I didn't like that either. It basically told me who's expendable and who isn't. Um, if it had not done those things right off the bat, basically spoiling itself,
Uh-huh.
I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more than I did. But it was a lot of fun. It felt like a Saw movie that wasn't nearly as graphic, um, and had a lot more of a budget.
Mhm.
I liked what they did with the set pieces. Visually, it was great. A lot of the characters were very likable. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I actually have this ranked at number 3 for the year so far.
Ah, very
out of
good.
out of
Uh,
12
out
movies.
of
I know
12. Okay, good.
that's not too many, but yeah, I still liked it.
Very good. Okay. Then we have A Dog's Way Home. I did see this, and I thought this was exactly what you expect it to be if
Mhm.
you see the poster and the trailer. It was harmless. It had some weird stuff. Like, I don't understand the weird plot line with that veteran. Like, that was weird. I don't know
Oh
what they were
yeah.
trying to say with that. There was definitely terrible CGI,
Oh yes.
which is a thing. Whatever.
You're
And
not talking about Big Kitten, are you?
yeah, Big Kitten was terrible, but it was fine. It was cute enough. I enjoyed it. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be when I sat down to see it. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it has its audience for sure,
yeah, yeah.
and for that audience, there's nothing to complain about. Um, for a 34-year-old man without children, um, it's not the best movie. I didn't hate it though. Yeah, there were those issues with CGI that, I mean, it wasn't even CGI. It was basically like a cartoon. Like you have a dog next to a cartoon mountain lion. But I thought it had a lot of heart behind it. So I thought I would recommend it to any like parents, I guess.
Dog fan. Like, if you're
Yeah,
super into
dog fans.
dogs, you'll love it. Like, it's exactly, if you see this poster and you're like, oh, that looks terrible, don't watch it. If you see it and you're like, oh, that looks cute, watch it. It's
Right.
exactly what you think it'll be. And there's something to be said for that, I think.
Yeah, this animal control guy though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's true. He was terrible.
He's insane. He's like camping out waiting for this dog,
Yeah.
like in the middle of the night.
What?
I'm like, you're a
Yeah.
crazy person.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. He was
Yeah.
nuts. But yeah.
I have this at 9 out of 12 so far, so
Uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah.
So I have it at because I have all my Sundance movies, so I have 31 so far for 2019. So I have it at 24 out of 31.
Okay.
So all right. Then we have Replicas. You saw
Oh
this.
yes.
I heard bad
Uh,
things.
so yeah, Replicas, it's Keanu Reeves movie, which is that's already one strike against it. I'm not a big Keanu Reeves fan.
Oh, okay.
But man, this was so bad. Uh, the dialogue is like laughable. It felt like maybe like a 15-year-old comes up with their idea of what like a science fiction film with robots and clones would be like. You have the bad guys walking around wearing suits, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like, I don't know how anybody signed on to do this
Yeah.
film, like anybody with credibility.
So do we have this is a little sneak peek at your bottom 10 list next year?
Oh, probably. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, luckily it was so bad that it was kind of entertaining, so I'll give it that. But yeah, unless you want to laugh at something ridiculous, stay away from this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So you also saw The Upside. I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I saw the upside. It had Bryan Cranston, Kevin Hart, and Nicole Kidman, which she's in a lot of movies that we're talking about in these podcasts, 4 different movies. But yeah, it was actually pretty good. There were a lot of funny parts. This was another one of those movies like Escape Room where they spoil it. They spoil like the ending or near ending at the beginning, and then they flash back and tell us the story up to that point. I don't get it. I don't know why movies have to do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just show us that when we get there. It doesn't add anything to do that. But yeah, I mean, it was entertaining enough. It's certainly not going to be something that stands the test of time, especially after I see many other movies. But I think for what it is, it's a pretty good movie. I put this at 5 for the year so far.
Okay, great. Then we had Glass. This is our M. Night Shyamalan film, the follow-up to Split, the end of the trilogy with Unbreakable. I did not like Split, really, except for McAvoy's performance. I just didn't like the weird message of child rape making you more worthy. That was so weird, and I don't know. I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And Unbreakable's fine. I don't think it's a masterpiece like people do, but it's fine. So for me, this movie is actually, I don't know. It was a mixed bag for me, but I gave it a fresh on Rotten Tomatoes because I thought the good outweighed the bad. I thought that it had a lot of boring parts, especially the first like 45 minutes. It had a lot of pretentious parts where I was just like, ugh, stop, stop all this exposition about how great you are, Shyamalan. But I thought the kind of the final act, and a lot of people hated the final act, but I actually thought like this idea of sort of this reverse origin story was kind of interesting and an interesting take on superhero movies, and it was definitely bold what they did, but sort of trying to start this whole movement of getting people to come out of the woodwork with their powers was interesting enough, and McAvoy was great. Every time he went through all the different people was really good. So yeah, I liked it, I guess. I don't know. For Shyamalan, that's a pretty good review for me because I don't like the way he makes movies.
Yeah. I'll just go ahead and say it. I do like this film. I think it's not getting the credit it deserves. It's not great, no, but it kept my attention throughout. And I liked the directions it went. It kind of kept me on my toes. I thought James McAvoy was even better in this than he was in Split. One of the only things is I don't know that it earned the name Glass. I don't feel like Samuel L. Jackson's character was the central character.
I agree with that.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. I was really hoping that I was hoping it would end by us seeing them in this mental institution, and we would see them join other people, and you'd see Haley Joel Osment and Mel Gibson and Bryce Dallas Howard. And just all Mark Wahlberg, and it would just be like this entire Shyamalan universe of like people that are in an insane asylum. Like I thought that would have been really fun. And can we talk about his cameo, M. Night Shyamalan's? Do you remember that?
He was working in the store.
Yeah, I thought he was really, really bad.
Yeah, he's always terrible.
Oh my gosh. This guy cannot act at all. And
No.
I was kind of embarrassed for him. That was definitely the worst part of the film for me, was when he came in.
Anybody who in my opinion, puts this below Lady in the Water, I don't understand, because I thought this was way better than Lady in the Water. So I don't know, maybe it was low expectations and other people had really, really high expectations, so it was kind of a different experience. Like some people were super excited about this movie, whereas I was like, I don't know. So I walked out of it being like, it was all right, it was fine.
Yeah, and that's fair. So for me, it's about on par with Split, and I like them both. Unbreakable, I think, is far and away the best of this trilogy.
It had been a little overhyped for me, so it's a little bit hard for me to. I know it's just such a different experience, but yeah, I can understand that. I have it at 12 in my ranking for the.
Okay, I have it at 2, so it's actually the highest one I have that we're going to talk about. So.
Okay, good. All right, then we have Serenity, and I kind of wanted to see this movie because it sounded like insane. And I have heard the twist. We won't spoil it here, but that sounds crazy. I don't know. What did you think of this one?
Yeah. So this was an interesting one. This is another one that I kind of dozed off for a while, and it has this kind of weird, like, film noir feeling to it, especially with Anne Hathaway's character. Um, but man, it really cuts itself off at the knees whenever it reveals this twist,
Uh-huh.
which it reveals it barely past halfway through the film.
Uh-huh.
And without saying what it is,
Nuts.
it removes all stakes from the film. It's like, why do I care about this plot anymore? Like, there's zero to care about this plot. Um, I don't know how nobody questioned this when this was being made. It's so ridiculous. I would say if it's still showing anywhere near you, just go see it, just so you can, like, see this spectacle. Like, what? And it's really hard to discuss without spoiling anything. So
Yeah.
I'll just say it's not good. The only reason I put it above replicas is because of how weird it is.
Yeah.
So this is 11 out of 12.
Oh my gosh, crazy. All right, last one, The Kid Who Would Be King. I'm going to catch up on this. It just came out the week of Sundance, so I couldn't see it, but it
Mhm.
looked really cute. And it got, I think, pretty good reviews, so.
Yeah, and I can see why. It kind of, for me, harkened back to that first Harry Potter film.
Uh-huh.
That it's very innocent, um, but well done. And I see that with this. I see, like, if they want to make sequels to it, I think there's a lot of potential for those characters to grow and for it to get more serious and reach new levels. Yeah, it was very good. It was entertaining. It's not necessarily something that I would want to watch again, but for its audience, yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's a very strong film. So I put this at number 6.
Very good. Cool. Great. So there you go. That is our mainstream blockbuster list that we recap that we talked about. I said that I would mention just the best out of all the Christmas movies that I saw was a little movie called Christmas Perfection. This was very funny about this girl who wants a perfect Christmas, and but nothing goes right, and she wakes up in she makes a wish. She wakes up she has this Irish Christmas village, and she wakes up in her Irish Christmas village having the perfect Christmas, and she can eat as much as she wants. Her parents are, because what made it really clever is it's not just about her having the perfect Christmas over and over and over again, but it was also everybody in her life was behaving the way that she wishes they would behave. So it's kind of interesting. And like, her parents are divorced in real life, but in Perfect Christmas, they're together and they're super happy. And so it's kind of, it had I think, a little bit of heart that you don't expect. And it was just really, I thought it was hilarious. There's a funny gag that in the Perfect Christmas world, she can't swear, and all of her swears come out as Christmas things. So like, she'll stub her toe and she'll be like, she'll be like a frosted fruitcake. Like, that was really funny, and just there was a lot of other really funny, I thought, jokes, and they did a good job. And that's the one that I recommend. That was the funniest. Had the most heart. It was the most clever, and so Christmas Perfection. It was on Lifetime, so crossing networks there, but it was really good. The best one from Hallmark is called The Road to Christmas, which was really sweet, had a nice message, had some diversity, and I think it was pretty well done. And so that was my favorite from them. But yeah, so there you go. You guys check
Cool.
it out. So, all right. Well, we will be back for the indie films. And David, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Film Freaks Group. That's a Film Freaks Facebook group that Rachel and I are both in. You can also find me on Twitter at the David Healy.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, and on iTunes and on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, please give us a ratings and review. We really appreciate it. And if you're listening, give us a thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube. And that would be great. And thanks so much. And we will talk again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.